All right, so we're going to be working on homework a little bit here. We have these following systems, and they're asked to solve them algebraically. A and B are both linear, and C and D are quadratic with a line. And so I'm going to do a couple of these, but not all of them. And I really don't want to do A or B. That's Math 1 skill that, yes, you haven't practiced in a long time, and so you've probably forgotten. So I'm just going to give you a hint on B. On A, you're going to just set the two sides equal to each other. There's your verbal hint. On B, I will solve this one for y, and y equals negative 2x minus 7. And then I will plug into the second equation, so I will get 4x plus 2, y, goes right there, equals 14. And so in my space for y, negative 2x minus 7. And so then you would solve that equation. Once you have the value for x, don't forget to go back and find y. As far as the other two, I do want to go ahead and do one of these for you, and I have no idea which one's the better choice, so I'm going to do D, because I don't know which one to choose. So in order to accomplish that, I'm sure I'm going to need some more space, so I'm going to reset the page and move this up so I can have all the space I could possibly want. So I'm going to start by setting them two equation sides equal to each other. 6x minus 12 equals 3 parentheses x minus 2 quantity squared plus 3. So 6x minus 12 equals 3, and I'm going to multiply first because exponents come before. I'm going to use the exponent first before I times everything by 3. Exponents come first. So x squared minus 4x plus 4. And again, you write it down twice, FOIL it out. I need to go fast so I can get you hints for all of your problems instead of just a few. Continuing, I have 6x minus 12 equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 12 plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and subtract now, so I'm going to add 12 to 12 and subtract 6x from negative 12x, and I end up with 0 equals 3x squared minus 18x plus 24 plus 3. 24 and 3 combine to make 27. And so now I'm here. I'm going to rewrite this equation by dividing everything by 3. I get 0 equals x squared minus 6x plus 9. 0 equals x minus 3 quantity squared. And again, I rewrote by factoring. And so now that I know that x equals 3, and there is only one answer, x equals 3, I will plug it in for y. And so plugging in for y, I have y equals 6 times 3 minus 12. Y equals 18 minus 12. And y equals 6. And so I have 3 comma 6. And so there we are. And that's where everything is. And we're going to move forward from here. And we'll see what else is there. So that's the idea. And so you have the other three equations to solve. Again, I gave you the hint on part B, and we'll see what goes on. Let's see what's next. We've got this one, examine the graph at the right. Explain how you can use the graph to determine the values below. And so all I'm doing is reading the graph. And so f of 3 means that when x is 3, what's the answer? And the answer is 1. And that's all you're doing, is reading the graph. So just tracing back to the y-axis and seeing what you have. So be very careful. All it's saying is when x equals whatever's inside, what is y? And the reason they ask it that way is so that they don't have to write as much stuff. You can see the sentence is a lot longer than those. Use the graph that we just talked about to solve the equations and inequalities below. So all of these is the graph we talked about. And so the idea is to look at the graph or copy it onto graph paper first and see. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab that graph paper from earlier that I made right here so I can have some graph paper and go back. And stick that graph paper here so I can have the graph on my page. And so 3, 1 is my vertex. Nothing weird about the slope. Sorry about that one. And so what we're doing here is x is 1, y is 1, x equals 3. Y is 3, x equals 1 and 5. And so that's all it's asking you to do. I'm going to leave it to kind of challenge you with those inequalities and this picture and see if you can come up with the answers. This one's a little trickier. And so what we have going on this one is this crazy equation here. And is it a line? What is happening? Oh, wait, it's 1 over x. So this has been shifted and stretched. So this is a little strange, but this is a hyperbola. And it does not have a line of symmetry. And direction of opening doesn't make sense. There are asymptotes, though. So let's think about that. It's been shifted 5 to the right. So if we remember, the original has asymptotes at the x and y axis. This one has been shifted 5 to the left, So the asymptote is not the y-axis. It's x equals -5 is the vertical asymptote, VA for vertical asymptote. And then it's been shifted up 7. So up here, 7. So the x-axis, which was my horizontal asymptote, is now at 7. So y equals 7 is my horizontal asymptote. And the rest thing I want you to do for the rest of it is go to Desmos, graph it, turn it into a table so you can see everything else that's happening. This might have x-intercepts because, there might be some down here and down here. It might have y-intercepts because it's been moved. So see if you can figure it out. It is neither continuous or discrete. It is discontinuous. Although both sides are continuous. The max is infinity. The minimum is negative infinity. It is a function. The endpoints don't make sense. See if you can find the domain and range have answers that have been left out. Hint, they're the asymptotes. Look at the picture. Use Desmos to help you finish the graph. Use your knowledge of absolute value functions to write this equation. And then we've got a few more. This one's pretty straightforward. I identify the vertex. It's been flipped over, so we know that. So really fast, we've got y equals a parentheses, not parentheses, absolute value of x minus h plus k. And so h comma k is my vertex or locator. That's right there. Has the slope been changed? It looks like it has. It's not a slope of 1. So what happened to it? And that's a. And a is definitely negative. So I'm going to leave you to it, and you can check your answer by going to Desmos and plotting it. And you can certainly ask me about this on Friday. Then this one, even, odd, or neither. We're going to do this by plugging in negative x and seeing if it's the same or different. So y equals the cube root of negative x. We'll come back to looking at what that is. 9 times negative x to the 5th minus x times negative x minus 9. And remember, it has to be the exact opposite to be odd. So this one I'll come back to. This one, and I'm going to leave you to do C by yourself. This one I'm just going to simplify. Negative x to the 5th, that means negative x times negative x times negative x times negative x. And I'm going to write it down. That makes positive, that stays negative. So I get negative 9x to the 5th. And then the middle becomes plus x. And the last one stays minus 9. And so this is not the exact opposite. The first term is opposite, but the last term is not. C is yours. A is a little weird because of this cube root. So on this one, this is what we'd plug in. And what I want you to do, instead of trying to manipulate it, because we don't really know the algebra to manipulate this right now, is go ahead and go to Desmos and graph it and see if it's a reflection across the, if it's been rotated, if it has rotational symmetry around the origin. And if it does, then it is odd. So my gut makes me want to think it's odd, but I really don't know. That's why I would absolutely suggest Desmos. Then we've got these ones, equivalent form. Remember, roots are fractions. So m to the 1/9 is that one. And so the other ones are asking you to go the other way, to go back to a fraction. And so on this one, though, I'm going to give you another hint on C. It's going to be -3 times b to the +5. And oh, that's done. And so they're just looking for a different way to write it. And so G and B and C are the same with G in it, and you're close. So let's see what you can do with that B one. I did the other two. And that's it. So good luck with your homework, and I will see you all on Friday.